Most men are trapped in a belief that destroys their chances before they even begin, the idea that if a woman isn't interested in you from the start, there's absolutely nothing you can do to change it. They see her lack of interest as a final verdict, a permanent sentence that can't be overturned. But that belief is built on a false understanding of how attraction works. Interest isn't logical for women. It's not a fixed decision carved in stone. It's emotional, fluid, and capable of shifting based on how you show up and the energy you bring. The mistake men make when they feel that sting of disinterest is that they immediately lean in harder. They shower her with more effort, more texts, more reassurance, hoping that persistence will eventually tip the scale in their favor. But persistence doesn't spark attraction, it suffocates it. The truth most men don't want to hear is this: trying harder when she's already pulling away only confirms her suspicion that you have no options and no self-respect. And nothing drains her curiosity faster than a man who reeks of desperation. Attraction isn't built by proving you care more. It's built by holding back, by showing that her lack of interest doesn't rattle your foundation. That's where the shift begins. When a man senses a woman's disinterest, his natural instinct is to double down and prove his worth. He thinks that if he just gives her enough effort, enough attention, enough proof of his intentions, she'll eventually see him differently. But what he doesn't realize is that this overinvestment has the exact opposite effect. Women don't crave what's endlessly available. They don't feel drawn to the man who's always within reach, waiting for their approval. They only miss what feels scarce, what has value precisely because it isn't handed out freely. Most men fall into the trap of giving everything too soon: constant texting, excessive compliments, checking their phones every few minutes hoping for a reply. All of that makes them predictable, and predictability kills intrigue. She doesn't need to wonder about him because he's already placed himself on a silver platter. But when you step back, when you refuse to overplay your hand, something subtle but powerful happens. Suddenly you're not just another man competing for her validation, you're the one who stands apart. Instead of drowning her in attention, you leave just enough space for her to think, to wonder, to question. And in that gap of uncertainty, the first spark of missing begins to grow. The psychology behind attraction is rooted in something very simple: people place the highest value on what they cannot fully have. When you make yourself too present, too accessible, you strip away any sense of mystery. She doesn't have to think about you, because you've already handed her the script. Every compliment, every instant reply, every attempt to prove yourself leaves her with no room to wonder. And without wonder, there can be no emotional pull. But when you practice restraint, when you give less instead of more, you create a gap that her mind naturally tries to fill. Silence and scarcity act like fuel for curiosity. She starts replaying your interactions in her head, thinking about small details she never cared about before. Why didn't he chase? Did I misjudge his interest? Is he with someone else? Those questions are powerful because they shift the focus from you seeking her to her seeking answers. Curiosity is the seed of longing. It doesn't happen because you forced her to feel something. It happens because you allowed space for her imagination to run. And in a woman's mind, imagination is far stronger than words. It turns an ordinary man into someone she can't stop thinking about. The hardest part about pulling back is that most men simply don't have the discipline to do it. Silence feels unbearable to them. They mistake it for rejection, for failure, for the end of their chances. That fear pushes them to chase harder, to send one more text, to call one more time, to prove that they're still around. But what they don't see is that every extra effort only digs the hole deeper. When you keep showing up uninvited, she doesn't see persistence, she sees weakness. She sees a man who can't handle boundaries, who has no control over his emotions, who will keep giving even when nothing is being returned. And that kills attraction instantly. But when you resist the urge to chase, when you let her silence be met with your silence, the dynamic flips. Suddenly you're not the man begging for a spot in her world, you're the man she can't quite figure out. That confusion is magnetic because women are naturally drawn to puzzles they can't solve. Most men fold under pressure. They break the silence out of insecurity. But the man who doesn't fold, the man who lets go without fear, is the one who stands out, and that's the one she remembers. Missing someone doesn't come from constant attention, it comes from absence. A woman can't miss what's always in front of her, what's always available at the push of a button. She only begins to feel the weight of your presence once that presence is taken away. This is why silence is such a powerful tool. When you pull back, her imagination doesn't just sit idle, it starts working overtime. She begins to picture you busy with your life, focused on your goals, maybe even giving your attention to another woman. And the irony is this, the less you show up, the more she thinks about you. That gap you leave behind forces her to wonder about you in ways she never did before. She starts to analyze your energy, replay old conversations, and question why you're not chasing like every other man. That uncertainty plants a seed that grows stronger with every moment of silence. And here's the truth, your absence echoes louder than any words you could send. 1,000 texts can't create the same effect as one well-placed silence. Because silence is contrast. It disrupts her expectations, and that disruption makes her feel something. And in her world, feeling is everything. Sometimes, no matter what you do, she won't miss you. She'll let you walk away without hesitation, and she'll never look back. That might feel like rejection, but in reality, it's clarity. It saves you from wasting more of your energy on someone who was never truly yours. But when the silence does begin to work, the shift is undeniable. She may start testing the waters with a casual text, or she might quietly check your social media to see what you're up to. These are small signals that her mind has started replaying your absence. That's when you know she feels the void you left behind. And here's the beauty of it, at that point, the power is no longer in her hands. It's in yours. You're not waiting for her approval, you're not hoping she chooses you. Instead, you're the one deciding whether she's even worth your time. That reversal of roles changes everything. You're no longer the man chasing validation. You're the man who sets the standard, who chooses who enters his world. And whether you let her back in or not, the outcome is a win, because you've proven that your worth is defined by you, not by her attention. The difference between men who succeed with silence and those who fail comes down to authenticity. Too many men try to fake detachment. They think ignoring her messages for a few hours or withholding attention on purpose will somehow trick her into missing them. But women are deeply intuitive, they can sense the energy behind your actions. If your silence is just a disguise for obsession, she'll feel it. She'll know you're still waiting by the phone, desperate for her reply. And that kind of fake game doesn't create respect, it creates pity. Real detachment, on the other hand, comes from self-respect. It's not about punishing her or trying to manipulate her emotions. It's about knowing your value and refusing to hand it away to someone who doesn't appreciate it. A woman will never miss the man who kneels at her feet, constantly proving himself. But she will miss the man who makes her rise to meet him, the one who quietly walks away without bitterness because he knows his life doesn't revolve around her. That kind of strength rattles her, because it's rare. Most men fold under pressure. But the man who doesn't fold, that's the one who stays unforgettable in her mind. At the core, this entire principle isn't really about making a woman miss you, it's about mastering yourself. Most men lose because they can't control their emotions. They chase validation, they fear rejection, they cling to women as if their worth depends on being chosen. But the strongest position a man can ever hold is genuine indifference. Not the kind you fake, not the kind where you secretly hope she notices, but the kind that comes from knowing your life is full with or without her. When you operate from that place, everything changes. You no longer need to beg, you no longer need to force, you no longer fear losing what was never really yours. And that's the paradox, when you stop trying to control her emotions, she starts to feel them more intensely. When you stop chasing, she starts noticing. When you live so deeply in your mission that her silence doesn't sting, that's when she begins to wonder. And wondering is what turns into missing. Because women don't truly miss the men who are always available. They miss the ones who disappear into their own world, who thrive without needing them. That absence, that mystery, that quiet strength, it echoes louder than words ever could. The final lesson is simple but powerful: you don't win by chasing, you win by choosing yourself. Women don't truly miss the man who throws himself at their feet, who tries to prove his worth through effort and persistence. They miss the man who knows his value, the man who can walk away without hesitation, the man who isn't afraid of silence. Because silence isn't weakness, it's strength. It shows that your happiness, your purpose, your identity don't revolve around her. And that's the energy women can't ignore. If she never comes back, you didn't lose, you gained clarity. You discovered she was never meant to be yours. But if she does come back, it won't be because of tricks or manipulation. It will be because she felt your absence in a way she couldn't shake. That absence created contrast, and that contrast made her realize you were different from every other man. The truth is, attraction isn't about effort, it's about impact. And the greatest impact you can make is by living a life so strong, so focused, so self-assured that anyone who walks away feels the loss. That's the kind of man who doesn't just make women miss him. That's the kind of man they never forget.